So today we're going to make a 3-piece braid-in tail bag. And here I've got the 2 pieces, I've got 2 of my pieces cut, and my 3rd piece I've cut, and then I've folded it over and pinned it. And then at the top, we've cut it at an angle, so for the opening, so for where they hang on the tie-in part on the top, you'll be able to see that once we get going a little bit more. So I've cut my pieces. These pieces are 8 inches wide by 36 inches long, I think is what I had done, 37 inches long. So we've got 8 inches wide by 37 inches long, and so they'll be a little bit smaller once you sew them because of the seam allowances. So we're just gonna fold over those other 2 and cut the top at an angle, and then we'll continue on with the sewing. Okay, so now we're gonna cut, I've got the 2nd piece folded over in half, so now we're gonna cut the angle on the top. So I'm just gonna take my 1st piece that I've already cut, and I'm gonna lay that right on top to use as my pattern. And I've cut that 1st piece 1.5 inches. This piece is 1.5 inches wide, and this is 4 inches long. So I'm just going to cut the 2nd one, same as the 1st. Line that up. Cut that off. And that'll give us the angle for that one. And we'll pin this and do the same thing with the 3rd piece. Okay, so I forgot to mention before, on your middle tube piece before you sew it together, you want to add these 2 ties to it, so when you put your tail bag in and you finish braiding it, you can tie it off with these. So you just cut 2 pieces, they're about 1 inch wide, and however long you want them, you think you need them to be. I didn't measure them, I just eyeballed it and cut them. And then, so when your tube is right sides together, you add these on the inside and sew it with your seam so that when you turn it right side out, they're on the outside. And you can tie them together. So we'll continue sewing. Okay, so here we have our tube before we sew it. It's still just pinned. And I wanted to mention you want to start sewing here at the point where you stop the angle on it, because this is going to be attached up at the top. So you want this is all going to be open. So you want to start your sewing right here and not up here, not up at the top. So we're going to start doing that. And you want to remember to leave the end of this open so that you can use your hand to pull the tail through. And stitch that back and forth to anchor it. And I'm going to run another seam down right beside that one just to double it up to make it a little more sturdy. Okay, so we're continuing with our tail bag. So I've cut the piece to go across the top that we're going to attach our tubes to. I've got our tubes all here, all sewn together. So now I've cut this piece about as wide as my ruler, just to make it easy. And I've cut it about 28 inches, 28.5 inches long. And now we are going to attach the tubes to the top piece that you're going to use to tie into your horse's tail. So you want to make sure that you have your center one, your center piece is going to be the piece with the ties on it to tie around the bottom of the horse's tail. So now we're going to take these pieces and they're going to overlap some to connect to this top piece. So we want to be at about 14 because that's going to be about our center. So we're going to want our middle piece at about 14. And I will pin these down once I get them in the spot where I want them. You want to attach it down near the bottom of the piece that's going to go around the top. So that's my first piece, and then I want my middle piece with the ties on the end, and that's going to overlap about halfway with this piece. So kind of like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's a tail bag. The horse doesn't care, but I want it to be about at 14 for that center piece. So I'm going to move these over a little bit. We'll start them about there. They're going to overlap like that, and then my third piece I'll put on there and have that overlap with those two pieces. And now I'm just going to make sure that these are straight, and I'm going to pin them down. Alright, so I've got my 3 tubes all pinned in place along the top part that's going to tie around just under the tailbone of your horse's tail. So these are all set in, and now we're just going to stitch along the top. I will take those to the sewing machine and show you how to do that. Alright, so we're at the sewing machine, and now we're just going to sew these down. Just go back and forth to anchor the stitches, and you're going to want to make 2 or 3 passes on this because it's going to have a lot of wear and tear on it because it's at the top where everything's going to be held together. So we've got them sewn down there, and then we're going to make a couple more passes just to make sure everything is sturdy and it's not going to fall apart on us when your horse is swishing his tail around or whatever may happen to it. We want to make sure that it doesn't come apart. You may even want to do like a zigzag stitch or something on there that may be a little more sturdy. So I'm just going to make a couple more passes on there, and then that part will be finished. Okay, so here's our finished tail bag. I've got all the tubes sewn in, and it is all ready to put in your horse's tail. You just tie it around the top, slip the 3 pieces of hair through, braid it together, and tie it off at the end. I hope you liked this video. Thank you for watching.